Yay. Okay, so we've broken down naming and formula writing into 2 weeks. So this week, we're just gonna focus on covalent compounds, and next week, we're gonna focus on ionic compounds. So the rules for each of those things are slightly different. Covalent tends to be a little easier, so we start there. So I'm gonna go through the notes, we're gonna practice, and then I'm gonna go over what is due this week. And then that's it. So let's start by having you tell me which of these compounds up here, which of these 6 compounds are covalent compounds.
That's fine. Okay.
So somebody tell me one of them that you know that you can tell is covalent.
Is number 1 covalent?
Number 1 is covalent. That is a covalent compound.
I was gonna say that.
Wait, I can say its name. Hold up. I can say its name.
Isn't the PBO?
Is it what?
Isn't PBO a covalent compound?
No.
Wait.
Miss Baskin, I can say the name.
Oxygen.
The second one is.
The second one is?
Wait, I want to see the name of the second one.
I'll let you admit it, Noel. What else is covalent?
Third one is
That's the
not.
3.
What did somebody say about the third one?
It's not.
The third one is not.
It's SO31.
SO3 is 1.
Isn't that all?
And what about this guy?
I don't think that one's 1.
Say what?
It is.
I mean, it is because it's hydrogen and fluorine.
It is because it's hydrogen and fluorine. Okay, so how could we tell? What was it that we were looking for?
2 nonmetals.
2 nonmetals.
Right, TV is 2 nonmetals.
Right? 2 nonmetals.
Wait, Miss Baskin. Is PB one element and then O another one?
Yes.
PB is lead.
PB is lead. Lead is a metal. So and I put PB on there for a reason, because while it looks like it's on the right-hand side of the periodic table, it is on the left hand of that stair-step line. So PB is a metal. And don't forget, for both of these, hydrogen is a non-metal. All right, so hydrogen, which hangs out on the left side of the periodic table, is a non-metal. So that is one thing to kind of have to watch out for. But today we are dealing with when you have 2 non-metals. So, Noelle, you said you wanted to try and name this first one?
I mean, I can go ahead and try it. All of them if you want me to.
Try it, go for it.
Okay. Hold on. Carbon.
Uh-huh.
Hold up. Carbon. Tetrachloride.
Yes, carbon tetrachloride. That is the name of the first one.
Hydrogen disulfur.
Close. The di goes with the first one.
Oh, sorry. Dihydrogen monosulfur.
So what Noelle is going through is based off of the video. So I'm gonna go ahead and clear this, and let's get to those notes. So this is the page I'm about to go over in the packet. It's about halfway through the packet. So if you have it, get it out, have it in front of you. If you don't, then you can just jot some notes down and you can rewatch it, this video later, and write this stuff down on your own. But I'm gonna switch over to my iPad so that I can not do the stupid annotate feature and actually write with my with my actual hand, because that's easier.
I forgot which packet we're doing. What's the title of the packet?
What?
What's the title of the packet? Oh, is it the
Drawing and naming formulas.
Okay.
Okay. So, from what we just did, covalent means you've got a non-metal plus a non-metal. Okay, so that means you've got hydrogen and something on the right-hand side of the periodic table. And then if you did the Edpuzzle video, I asked you actually to write down what these prefixes are because they went through them in the video. But if you did not, these are your standard Greek sort of prefixes that go along with numbers. So 1 is mono, 2 is di, 3 is tri, 4 is the only weird one in this bunch because it is tetra. And I think most people would try and say it was quad because that's what you're more used to, but it's tetra. And if you ever forget that, if you play the game Tetris, in the game Tetris, all of the playing pieces have 4 blocks. That's where the name Tetris came from for that game.
Oh, very smart.
Okay. And then from there, it all starts being geometry shapes, right? So 5, a 5-sided shape is a pentagon, and 5 is penta.
Penta.
A 6-sided shape is a hexagon, and 6 is hexa. And 7, which is weird and we don't actually use that much, is not sep, right? So if you use the H, if you use hexa, then 7 is hepta. But if 6 is sexa, then 7 is septa. So 1 is Greek and 1 is Latin, and I don't really know which is which because I didn't take either of those languages.
Latin is sex. Latin is a sex one.
Okay. 8.
I remember that.
What's the 8-sided shape?
Octa.
Octagon. 9. Nonna. It's like talking about your grandma, your nonna.
That's kind of sweet. I like that.
And then 10. Deca.
Deca.
Yep. Deca.
Like that's the with a C.
As in like decade, right? Deca.
Like
Okay. So those prefixes we're going to be using basically for everything. So they're going to be attached to the elements in the name, and then you're going to use them in the name to figure out the numbers when you write the formulas. So those 10 things you're going to be using extensively. So if I have a formula and I need to write the name, I will start by writing the complete name of the first element, unchanged. I do not make any changes to the name of the first element. So if the first element is sulfur, I just write sulfur. If it's phosphorus, I just write phosphorus. If it's nitrogen, I just write nitrogen. I do not change any part of the name. But if there is more than one of them, then I have to add a prefix. So if there are 2 nitrogens, it would be dinitrogen. If there are 3 sulfurs, it would be trisulfur. But if there's only 1, I don't have to add a prefix for 1. Now the second element, when I write the second element, I do have to make a change. I have to add IDE to the end. And I'm gonna write down, I'm gonna pull up here in a minute and write down what those endings are. But I'm gonna write "ide." You always have to use a prefix with the second element, including mono. So mono only gets used for the second element, never with the first, only with the second. And then to keep us from sounding weird and stupid, we drop off the A or the O on the prefix when we combine it with oxygen. Because oxygen already starts with an O, so we don't have a double O. We don't say monoxide. We don't say tetraoxide. We say monoxide or tetroxide. So we just drop that. So I'm just going to pull this up a little. I'm not actually going to erase anything so you can.
Even dumber though. I like the other one.
You what?
I like the other one. Instead of saying monoxide, I like monooxide.
I know. Well, sorry. So
It's okay.
oxygen becomes oxide, which is easy, right? Hydrogen becomes hydride. Carbon becomes carbide. So you basically end up keeping the first syllable of the element name and chopping off the rest and adding IDE. It's kind of funny. Sulfur, sulfide, right? Silicon, this is a funny one. Silicide. That's a really strange one. All of the others that I'm about to write, you've probably heard before. So selenium, selenide, tellurium. Right below it is telluride, which is actually the name of a ski resort. Weird. Nitrogen, nitride, that's normal. Phosphorus, phosphide. Arsenic, arsenide.
Are you writing this down?
I would. It's just to make sure you don't make any mistakes when you do it. It's just helpful to make sure you chop off the word at the right spot. And then these last ones I know you've heard. So fluorine, fluoride, right? That's in your toothpaste. Chlorine, chloride. Bromine, bromide. And iodine, iodide. And to me, iodide sounds funny. So if I take that, and now I look at the examples here, I have XEF4. So my rules say to write the complete name of the first element unchanged. So Xe is the element xenon. And there is only one of them, so I do not have to add a prefix. And then it says, write the name of the second element, but change the ending to IDE. So what am I going to write for the F?
Fluoride.
All right, it becomes the fluoride. And the prefix that I'm going to add to it, I simply match that 4 to here, and I would write tetrafluoride. And that's it. That's how you write the name of one of these things. So for the next one, I've got 2 N's. So my prefix for 2 is di. So I put di in front of the full name of the first element unchanged. So while it sounds really weird, it is correct to say dinitrogen, whole thing. And what is my prefix for 5?
Penta.
Penta. But I've got oxygen here, and oxygen says I drop that A off. So, whoop, take it off. And then instead of oxygen, I'm going to write oxide, because oxygen becomes oxide. So the next one, I've got S. There's no number, so there's no prefix. And I write the full name of that element, sulfur. And then I've got 6. What is my prefix for 6?
Hexa.
Hexa. Do I need to drop the A here?
No.
No, because I'm not with oxygen. So I keep the A. And Cl becomes what?
Chloride.
Hexachloride.
Chloride. So it would be hexachloride. So sulfur hexachloride. Now the last one also has 2 numbers. So I'm going to use 2 prefixes. And this is going to be a long one to write out. So what is the prefix for 4?
Tetra.
Tetra. And the full name of that element, which is
Phosphorus, I think.
phosphorus, one of the longer element names. And then the prefix for 10.
Wait, why don't we change it to phosphide?
Because I only changed the ending for the second element.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So
Phosphorus.
So 10 is deca, but I'm pairing it with oxygen. So I drop that A, and my oxygen becomes
Decoxide.
so tetraphosphorus decoxide. These sound really dumb, but they are incredibly descriptive because they tell you exactly what elements are there and exactly how many of those elements are there. So they're incredibly specific, which does make them helpful. So let's do the reverse. And write the formula if we have the name. So formulas always come from symbols. So you're going to figure out from the name what element you're talking about. You're going to write that symbol. And then the prefix tells you what number to write next to it. And if there is no prefix, then there is no number, right? Because we don't have to write the physical number 1 in our formulas. It is not necessary to write the number 1 in formulas. And then we'd simply write the symbol for the second element and turn that prefix into a number. So looking at these examples, let's start by writing what those numbers are next to every single prefix that's there. So in the first one, what prefix exists?
Mono.
Mono. And mono means how many?
1.
1. All right. In the second one, what prefix exists?
4. Or tetra.
Tetra.
Tetra. And what number does that represent?
4.
4.
4. So in number 3, what prefixes exist?
Di and Exa.
And hexa.
Di and hexa. And di means,
2.
and hexa means,
6.
6.
okay? And in the last one, what prefix do we see?
Di.
Die.
Just di. Okay? So all of those numbers that I just wrote, those become my subscripts on these things. So was there a prefix on nitrogen?
No.
No. So I don't write a number. It's just in. And then what element is this?
Oxygen.
Oxygen. And do I need to write a number 1?
No.
No. All right, because it's understood. So nitrogen monoxide is no. An emphatic no in all caps. Okay. Carbon
Wait, no to what?
tetraiodide.
What are we saying no to?
What?
Why do we say no?
Just because that's the way it is. I don't know. So what's the symbol for carbon?
C.
Just a C. Please don't think it's Ca. That's calcium. That's a common thing that people mix up. Do I need a number next to the carbon?
Yes.
No.
Wait, no.
No, because there's no
I lied.
prefix here. Okay. What is that?
Iodine.
Iodine.
Iodine, which is a capital
I.
I. And what number am I going to write with it?
4.
4.
4.
I see. Okay, this makes sense.
Okay. So moving on to number 3. Arsenic is a AS. And I'm going to put that di, I'm going to put a number 2 with it. And then what element is that?
And then it's F6.
F6. Okay. Silicon is what symbol?
I don't know.
S.
Is it
S.
Si?
Si. Just S is sulfur. There's no number next to it. And again, what element is that?
Oxygen.
And I'm going to write O2. So part of the reason that I had you write these up at the top is because it makes it easier to identify the symbol, because when you chop up the name and add the IDE, it's not always recognizable as an element, and therefore it's much easier to be able to write this stuff down. Okay?
That's disgusting.
Yes?
I have to go to Mr. French class.
Yeah. So the rest of what we have down here is simply practice. So for this first portion, let's focus on this portion right here. This is matching. So that means that all of these match with one of these guys here. So let's take a couple of minutes and try and do that matching, and we'll check this before we move on.
Can we get some like music or something? Cause this is freaky.
It's freaky. I mean, you're standing in a desert, Sammy. It is freaky. I'm just saying.
Here, hold on. I got you. Hey, you put music before I could.
Okay. Do we have answers for the matching?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So what letter was SO2?
D.
D.
D, sulfur dioxide. So what was SO3?
G.
G.
G, sulfur trioxide. What was NO2?
H.
H.
H. And N2O?
C.
E.
Oh.
E, dinitrogen monoxide. All right, so it does matter where you put the di. It's a completely different formula. If you put it with the oxygen, it's NO2. If you put it with the nitrogen, it's N2O. What about the S2Cl2?
B.
B. And the SCl4?
F.
F. Because the SiCl4 is
A.
A. All right, do not confuse silicon and sulfur. They are not the same. And lastly, NO would be
C.
C. Cool. Okay. So then name these. So write out the full name on your own.
Miss Basket, could you go back up real quick? Can I take a picture?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Uh-huh. Okay. So take a couple of minutes and write out the names for these. And again, I'll leave this up.
Miss Baskin,
Yes, Sahar.
you know we not off quarantine till freaking May 15th.
Have they announced that yet?
Yes,
Until
When?
when?
May 15th.
May 15th?
Yeah.
Dog.
Who said that? My mom was just watching the news.
Okay. I assumed they were going to make an announcement on Friday, but if they made it today, great, because April 27th was less than 2 weeks away, and I was like, y'all need to make a decision here.
Right.
So.
They might as well close schools during for the rest of the year too.
I'll see y'all August 28th.
Yeah, you may not be far off on that.
Miss Baskin,
Yeah,
are you enjoying my rat?
that is kind of a twisted rat.
Yeah.
I mean, you should. Smoking's bad.
Did she say a rat?
Yeah, in the background of her picture.
Oh, I was about to say.
Okay, so let's go over these. So, what is the name of the first one?
Phosphorus trihydride.
Yes. Phosphorus, no prefix there. Tri and hydrogen is hydride. The second one?
So, Miss Baskin,
Yes.
when you're writing these, the prefix comes before the element.
Yes.
Always, or is it just for in general?
That is, by definition, what a prefix is.
Okay.
Cool. All right, in 203.
Is dinitrogen trioxide.
Dinitrogen trioxide. All right, and notice that the prefix tri, we keep the I because otherwise there's no vowel. So we only drop A's and O's with oxygen. Okay, number 3.
Iodine pentafluoride.
Iodine, full thing. Penta fluoride. Number 4.
Xenon hexafluoride.
Xenon hexafluoride. And the last one.
Selenium fluoride.
All right, selenium, yes, or selenium, either way. And then what was it?
Tetrachloride.
Tetrachloride. Okay. So I'm going to shift that over just a little so that people can still see that. But if you are working off of notebook paper, then you should be able to see the 5 on the right. For these, you are writing the formulas. So you are looking at these prefixes and turning those prefixes into the numbers. So those 5 should be a little faster. And if you're having problems finding antimony, it's SB. Because Latin. Okay, so going over these, what number is the prefix tri?
3.
3.
3. So that formula would be what?
SBBR3.
SBBr3. And in the second one, we only have the prefix di, which stands for
2.
2. So what is that formula?
ClO2.
Okay, so we have a di again, which is a 2, a tri again, which is a 3. So what is that next one?
N2O3.
All right, we have a di again, which is 2. What is mono?
1.
1. So what is number 4?
V2SI.
V2SI. And we've got tri again. And what is that last one?
PI3.
PI3. So that's how you do this stuff. So if anybody needs to, because I'm gonna switch it back. I'm gonna switch it back over away from my iPad. So if you need to take a picture of that, if you haven't written it all down, take a picture really fast. I'll give you 15 seconds before I switch back over and tell you what's due for the week and how we'll be moving on. 5 more seconds to take a picture. And switching. Okay. So again, because we are only having 1 class a week, I've got extra hours on Friday when we used to have class. If you have problems with anything, if you get stuck. So I won't be hanging out on Zoom, but if you send me a Remind chat message, I'll be monitoring Remind. And if you want me to jump on Zoom on Friday, anytime between 11 and 2, just send me a little note and I'll jump on and meet with you one-on-one. You will have a new Edpuzzle video. I will finish processing it later, later today and get it posted. That will be on ionic names and formulas, so it'll be slightly different. That'll be due on Monday. And then Calm is coming back. So you do have a Calm assignment that opened yesterday that's due on Monday. But now that Calm will count as an assessment grade, which is actually a good thing for you guys because that will pull up assessment averages. I know some people, because I had accidentally left it open before, some people had done some of these questions, but I changed the question set. So some of you, I think Sammy and maybe Covenant, a handful of people had already done some of these. You need to go back in and do them because I've changed what was in there. So everybody needs to go back in and do Calm Topic 8, Section 3. It is 10 questions. It is now only on covalent naming and formula writing because it was a mixture before. So that is what is due on Monday. A Calm and an Edpuzzle, so it feels like way throwback. Calm and Edpuzzle due on Monday. Let's see here. Because tomorrow is supposed to be Emancipation Day, I am canceling my office hours tomorrow, which means if you need to see me, send me a chat at some point, or you can join me on Friday. Otherwise, I think that's it. I am going to send out a quizzes link for a practice with this, so you can practice on your own and it'll show you the answers and all that sort of stuff if you want to do that before you do the Calm. So that is it. That is class. Anybody has any questions, you can hang around and ask me questions. Otherwise, see you when I see you.